In this vid, I'm going to be taking a look at a Samurott Donphan deck by yodastig. This isn't just any Samurott Donphan deck, this is a Samurott Donphan deck that I lost to at Nationals. yodastig is a friend of the Pokemon player that I lost to at Nationals, and he got his permission to give me his deck and share it with everyone. This isn't a typical Samurott Donphan deck. It also runs Lanturn Prime, which makes it a little more difficult to predict and therefore a little more difficult to beat. yodastig also wanted me to tell you that his name is Michael, so that his friend that I played at Nationals knows that it's him. So now on to the deck. The starting line in this deck is perfect: 1 Cleffa and 1 Tyrogue. A lot of people, including myself, really didn't catch on until after Nationals that 4 or even 3 Cleffa in a deck were not required. You want the 1 Cleffa to help you set up, but anything more than that and you're just running the risk of getting donked. He runs a 3/3 line Donphan Prime. Donphan is just an extremely strong stage 1. Earthquake hits for 60 for only 1 fighting energy. Everything that hits it is reduced by 20. And the best thing is that with Magnezone being so big in this format, with a little plus power, it can pretty much one-shot it. Or you can always build it up and heavy impact for an easy knockout. Ability Samurott also fits very well with Donphan decks. Like Donphan's Pokebody, Samurott's ability Shell Armor reduces all damage done to Samurott by 20. At a HP of 140, that makes it very difficult to knock out. Hydro Pump, assuming that you have water energy attached, can also hit pretty hard. If you have 3 water, that Hydro Pump is going to be doing 100, and you can always build it up more if you need to. His other attacker is Lanturn Prime. A great thing about this card is that while it's an electric type, it has the Poke Power to have the option of being a water type, which makes it great to come up against those fire type decks if you're not quite ready to get your Samurott out. Powerful Spark can also hit very hard. For a Lightning and a DCE, it does 40 plus 10 more for each energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So if you've got Samurotts and Donphans on the bench loaded up with energy, this can be hitting really hard. He runs a perfect line of 2/2 of the Lanturn Prime. He also throws in a 1 Buffalont, since he's already utilizing double colorless energy for Lanturn and possibly Samurott as well. Throwing in a Buffalont that can also utilize it is perfect. Revenge does 20 plus an additional 70 for a total of 90 if one of your own Pokemon were just knocked out. This is a great way to get back into the game. He runs 14 energy in the deck, 6 fighting, 4 DCE, and 4 rainbow. I like that he has the maxed out number of DCE since Buffalont, Lanturn, and Samurott can utilize it. What I don't like though is the rainbow energy. One good thing about Donphan Prime is that when it goes up against Magnezone, they have to loss burn 4 energy to get rid of it. If you attach rainbow energy, that means the Magnezone only has to loss burn away 3 energy cards, which isn't nearly as painful for a Magnezone M-board deck. And you never know where that 1 extra damage counter might hurt any of your other Pokemon as well. So if it were me, I would probably just change the rainbow to water, and I like the fighting energy at 6 since you can always use a flower shop to get some back if you really want to load up Donphan for heavy impact. He runs 4 Collector in this deck to ensure that he gets a really fast start. I think you could probably reduce that to 3 and still be safe. You run 2 Switch so that you can get those Donphans out of the active position. Standard decks just run 1 Switch, but I think anything that runs heavy on Donphan should easily run 2. You run 4 Communication to swap those Pokemon out for the ones that you need, but again, I think you can reduce this line down to 3. You run a combination of both Plus Power and Defender. I think your number of 2 Plus Power is perfect, but I don't think you need the 2 Defender. If you take out the rainbow energy and put water in instead, you won't need the Defender to last that 1 extra turn for a lot of attacks. I also think Defender is more useful in Zekrom decks, where you can essentially utilize it twice. You run 2 Pokemon Reversal or Pokemon Catcher when it's released, which I think is a great number. When Catcher is released, since this is a pretty fast deck, you might even want to increase that to 3. You also run 3 Junk Arm. I've been hearing a lot more people are running 4 in their deck, but again, I think that's a personal opinion, and I'm pretty comfortable running just 3. I think one downside to your deck is that you really don't have any recovery. If you get a slow start, you're going to have a hard time really coming back from behind. So I would throw in 1 Flower Shop in case a few of your early Pokemon are critically KO'd, and as well as the twins, so that you can hopefully get set up a little faster if you are coming from behind. What I thought was pretty interesting is that you run 3 Sage in this deck. I'm not a fan of Sage for a Samurott Donphan deck. What I found was pretty interesting is that you run 3 Sage in this deck. I'm not a fan of Sage personally for this type of deck because you're going to be throwing away a lot of things that you're not going to be able to reutilize. If you're throwing away energy, you don't have the energy retrieval to bring them back, and while you do have some junk arms to reutilize your trainers, you also run a few... no, you really don't. I'm not too big of a fan of Sage in this deck. I think this deck would work a little better with some other hand refreshers that are a little more consistent. I'm more concerned about just pulling a Sage, you having to discard a lot of energy, and especially since you don't run Flower Shop at the moment, you just have no way of getting that back. So I would recommend increasing your line of 2 Professor Oak's New Theory to 3, possibly 4, and also throwing in 1 Juniper. That's going to refresh your hand a little faster and a little more consistently, and except for Juniper, possibly not throwing away nearly as much. You currently don't run any rare candy, and while I think this was a good play for the Nationals format, when Pokemon Catcher comes out, they're easily going to be able to bring up those Oshawott and Dewatts before they can get to Samurotts. So I think adding in just 1 rare candy would ensure that you're able to get a Samurott on the bench before it can be captured up. Overall, I think this is a very consistent deck. I was able to see it in action several times, not only in the Nationals game, but a few playtest games afterwards. And while it runs really well, I think with Catcher coming up in the format, you're going to need a little more speed, so I hope some of my suggestions will help. If anyone else would like their deck reviewed, just PM me the list and let me know whether you'd like immediate feedback, which I would give via a blog review, or if you would like to be considered for a video review, which if you're chosen will take up to 3 weeks to do. Even if you're not chosen for a video review, I will automatically do a blog review at that time. Thanks for watching!